The beating that changed baseball. On August 16, 1920, thousands of fans packed New York's Polo Grounds to watch the Cleveland Indians face the Yankees. Chapman was Cleveland's star shortstop, known for his quick reflexes and exceptional fielding. The afternoon game moved at a typical pace until the fifth inning when Chapman stepped to the plate. Yankees pitcher Carl Mays threw with a distinctive submarine delivery, releasing the ball from an unusually low angle. The ball, dirty and scuffed from previous plays, was difficult to see against the late afternoon shadows. Chapman leaned in slightly, preparing for the pitch. The baseball struck his head with such force that the sound echoed through the stadium. Many spectators, including the umpire, thought it had hit Chapman's bat. For a moment, Mays fielded what he believed was a bunted ball and threw to first base. Chapman took several steps toward first base, then suddenly stopped. He dropped to his knees, a look of confusion crossing his face. Blood began to seep from his left ear. Players from both teams rushed to his side as he collapsed onto the dirt infield. Team doctors reached him within seconds. The crowd fell silent as Chapman was helped to his feet, wobbling and disoriented. He attempted to walk off the field with assistance, but couldn't maintain his balance. At New York's St. Lawrence Hospital, doctors discovered his skull was fractured. The impact had driven bone fragments nearly an inch into his brain. Surgeons performed an emergency operation, removing a piece of his skull to relieve pressure. Chapman never regained consciousness. At 4:40 a.m. the following morning, he was pronounced dead. The 29-year-old became the only player in Major League Baseball history to die from an injury sustained during a game. The tragedy changed baseball forever. The league soon banned the spitball and other pitches that doctored the ball. More importantly, umpires began regularly replacing dirty balls with clean ones, making them easier for batters to see, a practice that continues to this day. Goalkeeper blocker gone. On November 29, 2017, spectators filled the small gymnasium in Barras, Brazil, to watch a regional futsal match. Santos Sousa was the 38-year-old goalkeeper for Flamengo de Piripiri, a team competing in the local amateur league. The indoor arena was humid, the crowd energetic as the match entered its final minutes. The referee's whistle cut through the noise. A penalty had been awarded to the opposing team. Santos Sousa positioned himself between the goalposts, bouncing slightly on his toes. His teammates stood silent at midfield. The opposing striker approached the ball with measured steps. The shot came hard and fast, aimed at the center of the goal. Santos Sousa didn't dive. Instead, he stepped forward, making himself large, and blocked the ball with his chest. The impact was solid but unremarkable. The ball deflected harmlessly away. The crowd erupted in cheers. Santos Sousa raised his arms in celebration. His teammates rushed toward him, congratulating him on the crucial save. For a few seconds, everything appeared normal. Then, without warning, his expression changed. A look of confusion crossed his face. He reached out to a teammate, who caught him as his legs gave way. His body went limp as he collapsed to the court floor. The celebration instantly turned to panic. Players from both teams signaled frantically for medical help. A team doctor reached him within seconds and began CPR. The gymnasium fell silent. Children in the crowd were ushered outside as the medical team continued resuscitation efforts. For nearly 20 minutes, they fought to restart his heart. Paramedics arrived and took over, applying a defibrillator. The electric shocks caused his body to jolt, but his heart showed no response. Despite their desperate efforts, Santos Sousa never regained consciousness. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Medical examiners later determined he had suffered sudden cardiac arrest, likely triggered by commotio cordis, a rare but fatal disruption of heart rhythm caused by a precise impact to the chest wall at a critical moment in the cardiac cycle. Lightning's sudden strike on the pitch. On October 10, 2018, dark clouds gathered over Banyumas, Indonesia, as two local teams competed on a municipal football field. Raharja, a 35-year-old midfielder for FBI Banyumas, moved across the pitch with the confident stride of a veteran player. The weather had been threatening all afternoon, with humid air and distant thunder, but officials allowed the match to continue. In the 70th minute of play, light rain began to fall. Players glanced upward, but the precipitation seemed manageable. Spectators opened umbrellas as they continued watching from the sidelines. No one recognized the danger as the storm intensified rapidly. At precisely 4:17 p.m., a brilliant flash illuminated the entire pitch. The bolt struck without warning. Video footage later showed the lightning hitting just above the center of the field. Electrical current dispersed across the wet ground. Raharja, positioned near midfield, took the full impact. His body convulsed instantly and fell backward. For a moment, other players didn't realize what had happened, assuming he had slipped on the increasingly wet surface. Then someone shouted for help. Players from both teams rushed to his motionless form. Raharja lay perfectly still, his jersey smoking slightly from the intense heat. Medical staff reached him within seconds. His pulse was weak and erratic. Burns marked his chest and left shoulder where the current had entered his body. The rain intensified as paramedics performed CPR on the muddy field. An ambulance arrived 7 minutes later. Raharja was rushed to Banyumas Regional Hospital as teammates and spectators watched in stunned silence. Inside the emergency room, doctors found severe internal damage. The electrical current had caused severe disruption to his cardiac rhythm. Despite aggressive resuscitation efforts, including repeated defibrillation and emergency medications, Raharja's heart could not be stabilized. The electrical burn pathway had created irreversible damage to his cardiac tissue. At 5:42 p.m., just 85 minutes after being struck, Raharja was pronounced dead. Meteorologists later confirmed the bolt had delivered approximately 300 million volts of electricity through his body, far more than any human could survive. The platform dive gone wrong. On July 29, 1983, the Commonwealth Pool in Edmonton, Canada was filled with spectators attending the World University Games. Chalibashvili, a 21-year-old Soviet diver, was considered one of the most promising talents in the sport. His specialty was the 10-meter platform, where he regularly executed dives of the highest difficulty with seemingly effortless precision. For his fourth dive of the competition, Chalibashvili prepared to attempt a reverse 3.5 somersault in the tuck position, one of the most challenging dives in the sport. He stood at the edge of the platform, concentrating intensely. The crowd fell silent as he began his approach. His takeoff from the platform appeared normal. He gained appropriate height and initiated his rotation. But something went wrong in midair. Chalibashvili's body opened up slightly too early from the tight tuck position. This critical error threw off his rotation speed. As he descended toward the water, it became clear he wouldn't complete the required rotations. Instead of entering the water vertically, Chalibashvili struck the back of his head directly on the concrete platform. The sound of the impact echoed through the suddenly silent arena. His body fell limply into the pool. Blood immediately clouded the water around him. Fellow divers jumped in to assist as medical personnel rushed to the scene. Chalibashvili was unconscious when they pulled him from the water. A deep gash exposed his skull where it had struck the unyielding concrete. Paramedics stabilized his neck and applied pressure to the wound. His vital signs were weak, present as they loaded him into an ambulance. Doctors at the University of Alberta Hospital found that the impact had caused severe trauma to his brainstem and cerebellum. Chalibashvili was placed on life support in the intensive care unit. For 9 days, he remained in a deep coma, showing no signs of neurological activity. Despite aggressive medical intervention, the damage was irreversible. His brain had been critically injured at the moment of impact. On August 7, 1983, Sergei Chalibashvili's heart stopped beating. He died without ever regaining consciousness. His promising career and young life ended by a split-second miscalculation. Collision with the machine. On February 22, 1992, the crisp mountain air of Les Arcs, France, was filled with anticipation as athletes prepared for the speed skiing competition at the Albertville Winter Olympics. Bochetai, a 27-year-old Swiss competitor, was among the favorites in this demonstration sport, where skiers regularly exceeded 125 miles per hour down specially prepared slopes. The morning was perfect for training. Clear visibility, firm snow conditions, minimal wind. Bochetai and several teammates decided to take a warm-up run before the day's official practice. They set out on a marked trail adjacent to the competition course, building speed gradually as they descended. Bochetai accelerated into a gentle depression in the slope, his body in the aerodynamic tuck position that speed skiers use to minimize wind resistance. His specialized suit and helmet were designed for maximum velocity. At approximately 68 miles per hour, he approached a small rise in the terrain. As he crested the hill, Bochetai had no time to react. Snowcat, a large machine used for grooming ski slopes, was parked directly in his path. The machine had been maintaining a service road that intersected with the training run. No warning signs or barriers had been placed to alert skiers. The impact was devastating. Bochetai's body struck the metal vehicle with tremendous force. His momentum carried him into the machine's steel frame and treads. The sound of the collision alerted nearby skiers and course workers, who rushed to the scene. Medical personnel arrived within minutes, but there was nothing they could do. The trauma to Bochetai's head, chest, and internal organs was immediate and fatal. The impact had caused massive internal hemorrhaging and multiple compound fractures. He died instantly upon collision. Spectators and fellow competitors gathered at the scene, many in tears as news of the accident spread. Olympic officials quickly announced the postponement of all speed skiing events. Flags at the Olympic venues were lowered to half-mast. An investigation later revealed critical failures in communication between course officials and maintenance crews. The Snowcat operator had no radio contact with event coordinators and was unaware athletes would be using the training run that morning. Spectacle silenced. On March 15, 1971, a modest crowd gathered in the small Belgian town of Ritai to watch a local cycling race. Montserrat, the reigning world champion, stood out immediately in his distinctive rainbow jersey, the coveted garment awarded only to world champions. At just 22 years old, he was already considered one of cycling's brightest stars. The race was a minor event on the Belgian calendar, nothing like the major classics or grand tours where Montserrat normally competed. For him, it was a chance to build form early in the season while racing close to home. The 10-kilometer circuit wound through narrow country roads lined with spectators enjoying the first hints of spring. Montserrat quickly established himself at the front of the race. His powerful pedal stroke and professional positioning in the peloton made him easy to spot, even without the distinctive jersey. As he approached the 4th kilometer of the course, he was riding confidently near the front of a small breakaway group. The road ahead appeared clear. Race marshals had blocked most intersections, but not all local residents had been properly notified about road closures. A small British-made car suddenly appeared on the course, driven by an elderly man who was unaware of the ongoing race. The vehicle moved directly into the path of the oncoming cyclists. Other riders swerved frantically. Montserrat, positioned on the outside of the group, had nowhere to go. His bicycle struck the car's front bumper at approximately 30 miles per hour. The impact launched him over the handlebars. Montserrat's body hit the windshield before being thrown onto the asphalt. His helmet, basic leather protection by modern standards, provided minimal protection. Spectators screamed as they witnessed the world champion lying motionless on the pavement. Blood pooled beneath his head. Medical assistance arrived within minutes. A doctor from the crowd immediately began resuscitation efforts as race officials radioed for an ambulance. Despite their desperate attempts, Montserrat's injuries were too severe. The impact had caused severe trauma to his skull and cervical spine. At 4:15 p.m., less than 30 minutes after the collision, Jean-Pierre Montserrat was pronounced dead at the scene. The rainbow jersey, cycling's most prestigious symbol, was stained with the blood of its youngest champion. Olympic heat miscalculation. On July 14, 1912, spectators gathered along the marathon route at the Stockholm Olympics. Lázaro, a 21-year-old Portuguese runner, was among the 68 competitors prepared to tackle the 26.2-mile course. The weather conditions were unusually brutal for Sweden. Temperatures reached 89 degrees Fahrenheit with high humidity and no cloud cover. Before the race, Lázaro made a critical decision based on faulty medical understanding of the time. He covered large portions of his body with a thick layer of suet, animal fat typically used for cooking. This was common practice among some athletes who believed it would prevent sunburn and reduce water loss through the skin. At 1:45 p.m., the marathon began. Lázaro started conservatively, settling into a steady rhythm as the pack made its way through Stockholm's streets. Spectators noted his determined expression as he passed the early checkpoints. For the first 10 kilometers, he appeared strong and composed. As the race progressed, the temperature continued to climb. By the 25-kilometer mark, many runners were showing visible signs of heat distress. Lázaro began to struggle. His pace slowed. Witnesses reported seeing him stagger slightly, his gait becoming irregular. The suet coating, rather than protecting him, was preventing his body from cooling through natural perspiration. At the 30-kilometer mark, near the town of Sollentuna, Lázaro suddenly veered to the side of the road. His legs buckled beneath him. He collapsed onto the dusty surface, unconscious. Race officials and medical personnel rushed to his aid. His skin was alarmingly hot to the touch, yet completely dry. Doctors at the scene recognized the symptoms of severe hyperthermia. Lázaro's core temperature had risen to dangerous levels. His pulse was rapid but weak. Despite having water poured over him and being transported quickly to a nearby medical facility, his condition deteriorated rapidly. For several hours, medical staff fought to lower his temperature and restore fluid balance. His organs began shutting down one by one as the accumulated heat damage spread throughout his system. His heart, already strained from the race, could not sustain the additional stress. At 7:30 a.m. the following day, Francisco Lázaro died without regaining consciousness. He became the first athlete to die during competition in the modern Olympic Games. The autopsy revealed extreme dehydration and electrolyte imbalances that led to multiple organ failure. If you want to see more videos like this, click the video on screen now and make sure to subscribe.